Beautiful people, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Doc is In. Oh my gosh, guys, this is the last week in February and we are in a countdown to my birthday. Whoop whoop. All right, turn that big 2-1. Just kidding. It's not important, it's not important how old or how young I'm turning. Okay, as long as I don't look like I'm turning whatever my age is. I'll leave you guys guessing on that one. So, um, tonight's this entire week will just be kind of some personal topics for me. Again, I encourage you guys to like, share, and subscribe. This upcoming week, not this week, but the first week in March, I'm going to be doing all viewer requests. So send me your requests. Let me know what you want to hear about, because I'm going to make sure that whole week is dedicated to you guys. Just thank you for tuning in and thank you for making my dream of doing this a reality. So let's kick it off. Today's topic is one that's really personal to me and really dear to me, and it's weight loss. Um, I'm going to put some pictures throughout the video just to kind of show you where I started and where I am now and where I'm going to be going. So, I was always a chubby kid, from pretty much as far back as I can remember. And if I can find those pictures, I'll put those there too. I was always a chubby kid. I was born over 12 pounds. Yeah, my mom was a strong woman because she was basically pushing out a Volkswagen. Um, I was a big kid. And my doctor told my dad early on, like, hey, he's going to be a big guy. He's got big growth plates. Basically, all the signs are there. He's going to be a big kid. And man, was he right. So throughout, basically, as far back as I can remember, I was always taller than most of the kids in my class, but I was also way bigger than most of the kids in my class. Um, what I found was my mom and my mom's family tends to be a bit heavier, and they tend to be bigger, while my dad's side of the family tends to be longer, taller, you name it. Like my grandfather and his sister, man, they were both over, like 6'2". I think they were both like 6'3" or 6'4", which is pretty cool, like to see them like standing side by side. But anyway, so I was always taller and bigger than the kids in my class, and I grew up really, and now I can see that I had a really unhealthy relationship with food. But I was Southern also, so we celebrate everything with food. It's good food, it's bad food. The sun came up, food. And I also, as I mentioned in a previous video, I went through a really long period of depression, and I mean, food was my comfort. I totally see how people make that an addiction because it's one of the only legal addictions you can have. But the problem with food as an addiction is you wear that addiction on the outside, and it's very visible. So, when you grow up and you're never really comfortable within yourself, you always feel out of place. So, those, like, I remember like those rituals, like in pregame rituals where you have to like run around the gym and you're with the team and everybody's like, rah. Like for me, I hated those because I was always like, everyone's watching me run. I look stupid. No. So, it took a lot for me to really get comfortable with me. And I oftentimes wanted to just kind of shrink into the background. And I always hated the fact that I stood out without trying. So I remember my Morehouse brother Chris. I remember we had a world geography class or something like that, and I remember going. And, like normally I go, but one day I didn't go, and I was like, man, all these people in there, and she noticed me. Like it was a room full of black people. Like, how did she pick me missing out of a room full of black people? I could see if this was a PWI, but we're at HBCU. How did she pick me missing? And he was like, so you think she's really gonna miss the big black guy with the soft voice? No, she noticed you were missing. And it was something I always hated. Like I could never just go somewhere and sneak in the back and just be chill. It was always like, I see you back there. And it was like, dang. So around 2012, I started dating. And the person who I was dating really preferred bigger people. So whenever I would talk about losing weight, talk about wanting to do maybe weight loss surgery or something, it was always shot down with this thought of like, well, I don't know if I'll be attracted to you if you're still if you lose weight. And I realize now, of course, clearly it was a control thing and it was largely about, their needs, not mine. But I ballooned up really bad, and it got worse after my first nephew passed away. My second nephew, I'm sorry, passed away suddenly at 9 months old. It just got worse. The drinking combined with the eating, it was awful. And let me say this, and I mean, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I can cook, okay? You don't get to be almost 600 pounds and you can't cook. Like, that just don't happen. Like, I've watched my 600-pound life religiously, and I'll never understand how some people could be, 700 pounds and you can't cook. Like, are you serious? Come on now. Like, I don't care what you say. Burger King ain't that good. You got to learn how to cook. But anyway, um, I would cook, and for me, cooking was artistic. It was a way to kind of express my love for others. I would cook for others when people visited, and just cause, like, I just wanted to do something nice. I cook for people. So, I always realized, like, hey, all of this is factoring in. So, um, in about 2015 or so, I went to my doctor, and her name is Dr. Cheryl Johnson. She's really freaking amazing. She's an amazing doctor. She really listens to what's going on, and she helps, and that's the biggest part of it. She told me about. I went to her and I said, "Hey, look, I really want to try this medication. I heard about it. It's called Qsemia." First off, let me also point out this is like not funded or anything. I'm just talking to you guys. So I told her, I was like, I really want to try Qsemia. I'm seeing it on TV. It looks pretty cool. I'm looking at the studies. It looks awesome. So she said, well, listen, she said, I don't want to prescribe it until I can look at it and find out exactly what's in it. I just want to make sure that it's safe. And I love her for that. I love her for that because it showed me that she was looking out for my best interest and she wasn't just pushing pills at me. Um, so I met up with her again in a month, and she said, "Okay, let's give it a shot. I'll write the first prescription." So with Qsemia, it's a mixture of topiramate and phentermine, and it's pretty cool. Like the actual combination apparently not only cuts the habit or the craving, but it also does the phentermine effect and kind of like I guess keeps your stomach feeling full longer. So the first time that I used it, like they give you smaller doses and then you go up to a larger dose, I was like, holy crap, this must be working. So I started out probably at about 500, maybe 40 or 545 pounds. Um, I didn't. There wasn't a scale that I could buy at home that would measure me, so I would actually go to GNC and like weigh myself on those scales where you put the quarter in, and then they tell you your like weight, and then they give you like a fortune or something, and some lucky numbers. I don't know why, but anyway, I was actually going to GNC and weighing myself on one of those for a while, and like I noticed like I really wasn't trying, but my weight was coming down. Like I went from about 540 pounds to probably closer to like 499, 498 inside of like the first 30 days. So I was like geeked. I was like, I'm totally gonna lose this weight. Let's do this. So I got on. I was on Qsemia for a full year, and then I in that first year I lost. Let me put it like this. In the first year, I got down to about 400 and maybe 410 pounds, give or take. So that was pretty cool. Like, so that first year dropped like 130 pounds ish, give or take a few pounds. And that was really awesome. Going into the next year, I went to see a different doctor. And at this point, I had moved, so I went to see a different doctor, and he actually prescribed something to me. He basically prescribed the two parts of Qsemia to me, and in a different form because Qsemia was mad expensive, no lie. Um, so when I got it, I continued taking it, and everything was cool. Don't get me wrong. Like I kept the weight off. I got down. Like my lowest was like 327, and I was like, yeah, whoop, whoop. And everything was real cool, and I was really happy. But so many things happened. As I mentioned in the video, got divorced. I transitioned where I was living from one place to another. Um, I had been, coming home or coming back to Houston. I also had, some things happen where my father got ill, and you know, there was just a lot happening around me. Um, we also had a hurricane here. It was just a lot. It was a lot going on, and I did what I always do, which was turn back to food for comfort. So I had lost the weight, got down to a low weight. Like most people who saw me hadn't seen me that size since like senior year of high school. And then I noticed like slowly the weight was coming back, and it felt like I couldn't stop it. Um, so I had gotten from 540 something down to 327, and I was coming back up slowly. Um, as of last year in December, like the beginning of December, my weight had gotten back up to about 430-ish pounds. So unlike most people who seem to keep all their like heaviest weight clothes so that they can take pictures standing in one leg of jeans or something, I got rid of all of mine because I committed to myself. I was like, never again will you be this size. Never again will you be this big and unhealthy and unhappy. So in committing that to myself, I got rid of those clothes and I meant it. I was not going to wear those ever again. So at about 430 pounds, I decided, like, I'm working in a hospital. We do bariatric surgery here. The surgeon I got to know really well, and he's such a cool guy. His name is Dr. Garay. He's an amazing guy. He's very no nonsense, which is what I love. He was very straight up with me. He was like, if you're not going to commit to changing the way you eat, if you're not going to commit to doing this the right way, then the answer is going to be no. No smoking, no drinking, no nothing along those lines. Stay off of sugar. Like, he went through it all with me. And we have like one of the most amazing dietitians you ever want to meet. Her name is Stephanie, and I mean, she's an amazing person. But beyond that, even, working for HCA has been a really great thing for me because I have a lot of coworkers that can speak to what I'm dealing with, but also they hold me accountable, and I love them for that. Um, Before I ended up going to the informational sessions. I did all the prerequisite stuff. It took about 4 months. I think it took about 4 months or so to really get through everything to approve with insurance and all that good stuff. And one of the things that I did was I told my entire team, all the folks on the floor that I'm on, all the folks, in my department. I was like, guys, look, I'm getting I'm having weight loss surgery. And I told them that because I wanted them to hold me accountable. I didn't want this to be a secret. I wanted them to know. My family knows as well. There have been some folks in my life who've had it, who don't tell people that they had surgery, and they instead just try and keep it like this big secret. But I'm like, I'm sorry if if you were looking, like old Luther last week, and now you're looking like, take you out tonight, Luther, this week. We know something is awry. Either you had weight loss surgery or you on crack. And you seem a little lucid, so I'm gonna go with the surgery instead of the crack. Um, so I told my family, told the people in my life, like, hey, yeah, I'm having surgery. And everybody was just so positive and so up tempo and happy about it and happy for me. And so on December 17th, I had surgery. We're now about 8 weeks out, going on 9 weeks out. And in about 9 weeks, I've lost 57 pounds. I feel great. I feel amazing. Um, I eat, I do, but I don't eat the way I used to. I've changed what I eat. I cook differently. I had to learn how to cook to save my life. Well, so Chrissy Teigen, I love your cookbook, but I can't eat too much in it. I love Chrissy Teigen's cookbook so much. I have the Cravings cookbook, but I can't eat much in it. But I love it. It's good. It's good food. Um, I have really just begun to want to use what I've learned to help others. One of the big things is weight loss is something you have to do for yourself. You can't do it to make anybody else happy. You can't do it to take pictures. You can't do it for all these like silly reasons. You have to do it because you really want to do it, because this is a commitment. You really got to be on it. I mean, it's so easy to go back to old patterns. So that's why it's important to make sure that if you want to lose weight, do it for you. Me, if you really want to know my impetus for doing it, it's pretty selfish, but whatever. Um, I wanted to be here as long as possible to be able to see my nephews grow up. Not only my biologicals, but all of my littles, man. I want to see them grow up. I want to be able to be here and be a resource for them. I love these kids, man, and I do anything for them. So if I can make sure that I'm around just to be that resource that they go to, like, I love being called uncle. Like, that's one of my favorite things. Like, if you really want to make my life, like, man, bring my nephews around. They make me super happy. From my oldest to my youngest, I just love being able to spend that time with them and have that uncle relationship with them that like I have with my uncle, who I mentioned in a previous video, man. He was my godfather. He was an awesome guy. He was somebody I could talk to. Just that was, when you need to talk to somebody that's not a parent, he's that person that you can go to. I really appreciate the relationship I had with him, and I want to be able to be that for my nephews. I didn't mention my mom has lots of brothers and sisters. And I actually lost multiple uncles, but one of my other uncles, also, I had a really awesome relationship with. He was the most down home guy you ever want to meet. Like fishing, fishing and just doing outdoorsy stuff. That was his thing. And I remember that's the uncle that got me into wrestling. Like I would go over and he'd be watching wrestling on Saturdays, and that was the thing. Like every conversation we had, I think from about ages 7 to well into my 20s was like it would kick off with something wrestling related. Like, so I mean, I just think that's awesome, and now I get to share that with my nephews. One of my nephews is particularly into wrestling, so that's really awesome. I really like that, and that was my impetus for wanting to do this. um, it wasn't to go out and meet somebody or whatever. It was like I just want to be able to live a happy, healthy life and be able to do fun stuff with my nephews, because my youngest right now is getting more and more energy by the day. And I mean, if I got to body slam him like 100 times every time we see each other, man, I better get myself in shape, okay? So I ask you, what is your reason for wanting to be healthy? What's your reason for wanting to lose weight? Because if you establish that first off, that gives you that goal. That gives you that thing that'll motivate you when you do want to just kind of slip back and go get that burger, that bit of ice cream. I have a sugar demon. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to get him out, but sugar demon. Cookies, cakes, and pies. It's awful. It's a bad situation. Patty and her pies. Patty, no. I can't. But thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this movement that I would like to create about opening up real conversations and real dialogues around issues of mental health and wellness. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, love yourself, and love somebody else, because we'll all be better for it.